Hello, welcome to my kitchen. I am Deb Johnson of Budding Chefs. Today we are going to be making lemon blueberry muffins. When we make this in a Girl Scout Badge workshop class, what I usually do is all the girls will go around and read the recipe, make sure we have all our ingredients. So if you are making this recipe at home today, we're going to make sure that you have all the ingredients as well. So there will be eggs, sugar, plain Greek yogurt, unsweetened applesauce, honey, vanilla extract, lemon zest and lemon juice, flour, baking soda, baking powder, salt, and of course blueberries. So the first thing we're going to do is start with the top of the recipe where it tells you what the directions are. So the first direction is to preheat the oven to 350. I will do that right now. You always want to make sure that you have a parent that is okay with you turning on the oven, working with the oven. If you're younger, you're going to need some help from a parent. So the next direction is to grease a muffin tin, either the muffin cups or to put liners in. I like to use liners in my muffin cups just because it's neater. So I put the liners in and sprayed them with some oil. And then we set them aside. Then we need a large mixing bowl. And we're going to whisk together eggs and sugar. So I'm going to grab my whisk. The whisk is really nice for incorporating your ingredients and making sure that it's light and fluffy. It gets air in there. So what we're going to do is put our eggs in our bowl first. So this calls for 3 eggs. I already broke 2 and I will just put them in the bowl. But I wanted to show you that when you're actually working with eggs, I know a lot of people like to try and break it on the edge of a bowl. You don't really even need to do that. You can just crack it right in the middle of the bowl, right in the bottom, and then break it. Works just as easily as cracking it on the side. I think it works even better. The other thing to note is that when you are making a recipe that you are baking, a bake to it, that you want to use warm eggs. Turns out better that way. So we've got our eggs, and then we need our sugar. We need 1/3 cup of sugar, so I can just use my 1/3 cup, scoop it, and pour it right in there. Now the one thing that I really like to do when I am baking or cooking is to put everything away that I've already used and I'm done with. So just put that off to the side. Okay, and then we're going to whisk so it's nice and smooth. And then we're going to add our Greek yogurt. Now, the nice thing about Greek yogurt rather than regular yogurt is that it has a lot more protein in it. So this called for a 1/2 cup of Greek yogurt. We have our 1/2 cup right here. A little spatula to scrape that out, make sure that we have it all. So we're going to finish whisking that together. You don't necessarily have to use a whisk right now. I might actually probably switch to my spoon. So my Greek yogurt, and then we want applesauce. So that really makes it nice and moist. The thing that the applesauce is replacing, this is a healthy recipe, which is why we use it for the juniors badge workshop. Applesauce and your yogurt is replacing oil. So it's got a lot less fat, a lot more nutrients in it. Okay, then we need some honey. And the honey is, we did use some sugar, but not as much as a lot of muffins would use. So the honey, you don't need a whole lot of honey, and it makes it a lot more, a lot sweeter. So we're going to use 2 tablespoons of honey. 2 tablespoons. And I like to use local honey. This is actually honey from De Pere, where I live, from a local farmer. So we're gonna stir that in. Then we need a little bit of vanilla extract. And we need about 1 teaspoon. I make my own vanilla extract. You might have seen vanilla extract in the store, or that your parents use in the kitchen. It's usually in a brown bottle. I like to make my own. So normally I have a lot of vanilla beans in here, but I am just about ready to make a new batch of vanilla extract. So I need to get some more vanilla beans and get that going. Then we need some lemon zest. So the zest of a lemon is actually, you'd call it the peel probably. What you don't want to do is get the white stuff underneath. That's called pith, and it's really bitter. So you want to just get the yellow. I've already zested this lemon. I thought that we might need 2 lemons for this recipe, but when I juiced my lemon, I actually got enough out of 1 lemon. The thing that you want to do before using your lemons, say this is whole, you want to roll it on the countertop. You want it to be warm, and you roll it on the countertop. That gets all the juices really loose in there and ready to be squeezed out. So I used my juicer, and this has a measuring cup right in it. So we needed a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, and that 1 lemon gave us a 1/4 cup. Sometimes a lemon doesn't give you a 1/4 cup, and then you need a couple of them. Okay, so we are adding our lemon juice, our lemon zest. Now, if you don't want it quite as lemony, you can leave the lemon zest out as well. But you notice it's kind of stringy. You won't even notice that in your muffins. Okay, so we're going to mix that until well combined. Okay, and then we're going to stir in. Sometimes I like to have my dry ingredients already mixed. I didn't do that today. I just have them all out right here. Sometimes I like to put them in a separate bowl, but you don't use as many bowls if you do it this way. So we need our flour, and we need 1.5 cups. So I already measured out 1 cup of flour. So I'm going to pour that in, and I'm going to show you actually how I like to measure flour when you're doing a baking recipe. So rather than scooping, taking your measuring cup and scooping, you want to actually lightly spoon the flour. And I don't know if you can see, my flour is a little bit yellow. That's because I'm using whole wheat flour. Sometimes I use whole wheat white pastry flour, or whole wheat pastry flour. It's not quite as gritty as a whole wheat flour, or heavy. But this is full, just because that's what I had on hand. This is full whole wheat flour. You can, of course, use all-purpose flour as well. Okay, so we're going to stir that in. And then we need baking soda. So baking soda, we need 1 teaspoon. If your baking soda isn't in a container like this, it might be in an orange container that it came in. That's okay. Just want to make sure that you level it off so you're using just the right amount. Then we need 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm going to adjust my spoon to 1/2 teaspoon. Again, scrape it off. And this is what ensures that your muffins are going to be light and fluffy and not flat. And then we need 1 teaspoon of salt. And I would say that pretty much every baking recipe that you would use uses salt. So sometimes some have more than others. But we're gonna do 1 teaspoon. So we're gonna stir that together. And the thing about making muffins is that you really don't wanna stir it a whole lot. You don't wanna overwork the batter. You just wanna do enough that everything gets stirred together. Okay. And then we're going to gently fold in our blueberries. So I have a couple of blueberries here. They are fresh blueberries, and you want to make sure that you rinse them and drain them. So they've been draining for a while, so they're pretty dry. And we're gonna gently fold in. And when you think about folding, think about how you fold a shirt. So you take the two sides and you bring it together, and then you take that and you fold it over. It's the same thing when you're folding something in a recipe. You're going to kind of go from the bottom and bring it up over the top. Gently folding so that you don't mush up all those blueberries, because we want them to still be whole. And then when they bake, all those juices are going to come out into the muffins. It's going to be so delicious. Okay, and then we are going to fill our muffins. This is really, I like to make sure everything is out of my way. And we're gonna fill the muffin cups about 3/4 of the way. That means not all the way to the top. You want to make sure you get some blueberries in each one of those cups, because nobody wants a blueberry muffin without blueberries in it, right? Ooh, that one got a little messy. Oh my goodness. Usually I hold the bowl. If you are pretty young and have pretty small hands, you might not be able to hold the bowl right over the muffin tin, but that's okay. You can just do it. It's okay if it gets a little messy. We're actually going to clean that up a little bit, because what will happen is it will burn to the muffin tin, and that'll make a mess. And I'm sure you heard the beep that told us that the oven is all ready and preheated. Really important to have your oven preheated and all set to the temperature that the recipe calls for. Otherwise, they won't bake correctly. So we're going to go ahead and put those in the oven. And we're going to set our timer for 20 to 25 minutes. Sometimes you kind of know what your oven, how your oven works. Some ovens bake a lot faster than a recipe will say. Some are slower. Mine's right on, but what I usually do when a recipe says like 20 to 25 minutes, you go ahead and set it for the lowest amount first, so the 20 minutes. That way you check on it at 20, and if it needs more, you can always put it back in. But what you don't want to do is set it for 25 and then realize that your oven cooks a lot faster and then they're too done. So I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 20 minutes. And then we will come back and show you what those muffins look like. Okay, we are back, and I just checked on the muffins. There was about 2 minutes left, and I decided to check on them anyway, and they were actually done. I think another 2 minutes wouldn't have hurt, but I checked them and took them out. So the way that you can check to see if your muffins or cupcakes are done, you can use a toothpick. Of course, then you'd just be throwing one away, and so why not use a knife? I just use a knife. I usually go with the biggest overfilled one, because that's the one that's going to take the longest. Put your knife in, and if it comes out clean, then you know they're done. Okay, totally clean. So what I would do now is put them on a cooling rack. I think the recipe says to cool them for 10 minutes before eating. You don't want to bite into a hot out of the oven blueberry muffin, because those blueberries are hot. and you will burn your mouth pretty badly. I think even after 10 minutes, the blueberries might be a little hot. So we're gonna let those cool. I'm gonna put them on a cooling rack. Then I'm gonna take the muffins actually out of the muffin tin, put them on a platter, and they will be all set to eat. So hopefully you will enjoy these if you decide to make this recipe.